Hi, I'm Chase Milton, and my AP research question is about a holistic investigation into possible interventions within the Venezuelan presidential and humanitarian crisis. So basically what's going on in Venezuela right now is there's a president there who is currently withholding aid, enabling a lot of corruption within the higher-ups of the government, and overall just having a detrimental impact on the people of Venezuela. And so in this study, I kind of assess how we can react to that. So the next slide, some sources to analyze. One of them is called Made by Maduro, and Maduro is the president of Venezuela right now. And so he, in this source, it really discusses how he came to power in succession after Hugo Chavez was assassinated. And so he kind of inherited some of that. The source calls it jovial neo-populist style and kind of converts it into a more corrupt system that benefited him and like his cronies versus the people under Chavez. That a lot of people, there was more widespread support for Chavez. And then there's the Roosevelt Corollary. So that was a document that it's pretty old. It's like either the late 1800s or the early 1900s. Under Theodore Roosevelt, that kind of enabled imperialism in Latin America by the US. And so that was something that was really vital to the United States' role in South America and Central America. And so analyzing this document can kind of show us like the history behind how we justified intervening and how we can use it to intervene now. And then the next one is about the Syrian civil war. So there's a humanitarian, there's a lot of support for humanitarian aid in this crisis. And so what's very important is analyzing the potential effects of humanitarian aid that aren't so obvious. This example, during the Syrian civil war, there was a regime, the Assad regime, that pretty much ended up withholding the aid that was donated to them and kind of using it as like political currency over the people to garner more support. And so it was kind of like a weaponization of that food and essential resources that everyone needs. And the last one, profile of Guaido. This is his photo right here. He is their interim president, so he assumed power after certain protests swelled in size against Maduro's administration. So he is a more right-wing president that's recognized by a lot of other countries, including ours and Canada and Mexico and the majority of Latin America. So yes, and then the next thing would be the gap in research. So one of them is Maduro's quirks. He's a very interesting character in a kind of obviously a bad way. He's been known to just blatantly reject humanitarian aid for the sake of ego, and so that kind of complicates research because a lot of researchers or prominent people in the field advocate aid, but a lot of people don't see that being effective. And then the second one is oil. So Venezuela had extensive oil resources at one point, and then it's been plummeting ever since because Maduro kind of tanked the economy and didn't use sustainable or advisable at all practices to harvest that oil, and so that also creates a discrepancy in research. And then the last one is making enemies of China and North Korea, who are allies of the Maduro administration. And so a lot of researchers advocate different things to tread lightly so we don't make more conflict than we kind of already have the potential to. Okay. And then the method that I'm using is interviewing a lot of Venezuelans, so Venezuelan Americans, people who immigrated directly from Venezuela, to kind of get the political popular opinion in Venezuela. It's kind of very difficult to reach people who are inside the country because they're very disenfranchised, but using this opinion I think will kind of help me analyze what best to do to tread the lightest when it comes to how to help Venezuelans and not just like the government of the country, but to help the people. And I'm also incorporating a bit of political theory, but that's going to be a kind of sidebar to the rest of the interview-centric project, I guess. And lastly, the significance. So right now there's a lot of people's movements going on in Latin America, specifically in Guatemala and also Chile. And then there's also just a very high stakes situation here. A lot of people are dying, a lot of people are starving, losing their jobs. A lot of people are even past that point because of the gross inflation and the mishandling of just a successive series of follies by the Venezuelan government. And so this continues to emphasize the necessity of this project. And thank you very much.